welcome back to Kavanaugh's Corner. Today on the channel I have a review for you here of a new 4K disc that I was very excited about when it was announced, and I was lucky enough to have pre-ordered this and actually have gotten it in a little early. So this is one that I saw many years ago. I actually saw it when I was like really young, and at the time when I was a kid I really didn't get it. But as I revisited it again and again as I got older, I really came to love this movie. And it's actually one of my favorite films of the 1990s. And that movie is Sneakers, starring Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, Ben Kingsley, Mary McDonnell, River Phoenix. Oh my God. Sidney Poitier, how could we forget him? David Strathairn. I mean, this movie is just packed full of stars, and they all seem to be having an immensely great time making this movie. This is one of those movies that is just a lot of fun to watch. It has to do with a ragtag group of semi-criminals, I would say, and they all kind of work together to break into places to find weak points and security of different companies and places. And Robert Redford's character in this film is really interesting. I love his performance in this. Actually, I love the performance of everybody in this movie. Stephen Tobolowsky turns up at one point in this film, and he is an amazing actor, and he just gives an awesome performance. He's hilarious in pretty much everything he does. This is directed by Phil Alden Robinson, who also directed Field of Dreams, and he does a great job directing this film. The cinematography in this movie is also fantastic. The music by James Horner is awesome. And really, I mean, there's not much about this movie that isn't just absolutely great. So when I heard that it was coming to 4K with an all-new 4K scan derived from the original 35mm camera negative, I was very excited. And yeah, so today on the channel, we're going to be reviewing this new 4K disc from Kino Lorber here. Talking about the picture quality, the audio quality, and the special features, because there are a good amount of them on this. So first and foremost, if you're a fan of physical media, 4K discs, Blu-rays, you have a house that looks like this, do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. That would really do me a huge amount of help. That would be so great if you could do that. We recently surpassed 6,500 subscribers here on the channel, and I really appreciate all of you who have already liked my videos, subscribed, comment, everything. Really great stuff, so thank you so very much for that. So to jump right into the review here, as I mentioned, Sneakers does come to us from Kino Lorber. It is a native 4K scan. So it's not an upscale or anything like that. It's native 4K, and it does come with Dolby Vision HDR as well as HDR10 compatibility. I watched it in Dolby Vision, and one big thing I have to mention here is that the Blu-ray for this has been out for quite a while now, and it was a very, I'd say, decent Blu-ray from Universal back in the day. And the only big thing with that Blu-ray was, and it wasn't something I really noticed right away until I got a better television, ironically enough, and that's a big thing when it comes to 4K discs and Blu-rays. It really matters what you're watching it on. But that Blu-ray used a lot of artificial edge enhancement. So it was really like the edges of things were really not as defined, and it just had a very kind of weird, I don't want to say soft look, but an artificially sharpened and overly soft look to the movie. It wasn't a great transfer, and it was in, you know, the fairly early days of Blu-ray, and Universal kind of didn't have a great track record at that point with their releases. So the fact that this is now in 4K natively is a big step up, and I noticed right from the beginning of the movie that this is an immensely fantastic transfer. This is such a huge step up from the previous release. The film looks immaculate. Now, the one thing I do have to mention that some of you are not going to like about this transfer is that there is not very much in terms of digital noise reduction. I am not a fan of digital noise reduction in the least. In this case, Kino Lorber has gone the very natural route and has kept a lot of the film grain in the picture. It has not really been mitigated very much from what I could see, but it's there, and it's a light to medium grain throughout the film. Is it distracting? I would say no, not at all. But the movie does look so much better in this way. There is so much more detail in the film than there ever has been before. Close-ups of the various actors, especially Redford, you can really kind of see he's aging now in this film, and I've never really been able to see that before. The guy always looked like $1,000,000. I mean, that's you know, that goes without saying. But in this now, you can really see lines on his face, little wrinkles. Same goes for a lot of the other actors. The details of their faces, their clothing, the various outfits that the characters wear throughout the film. It's really very noticeable. Dan Aykroyd wears a lot of kind of funky jewelry and stuff in this movie. And I don't know why, but I get the feeling that Dan Aykroyd would actually wear this kind of stuff in real life. But my friend and I, when I was watching this movie, I watched it with a friend of mine, and he realized that he pointed out this really wild kind of like bracelet that Dan Aykroyd wears in the film, and it's like this turquoise, big, like almost Native American style bracelet that Dan Aykroyd wears. I've never noticed that before. So little things like that, they really do stick out now. There's a lot of close-ups of computer screens in this movie, and the detail even in that kind of level is much, much easier to see now. Readouts on screens and stuff, very, very easy to see. Just the detail level as a whole is just super high now. There's actually a couple shots in the film where Redford is wearing like this brown, I guess you could kind of call it like a tweed type jacket, like a sport coat. And there are certain shots when you can see the fibers of it. There's a shot where they're putting a microphone on the inside like lapel of his jacket. You can actually see like the fibers of the jacket in that shot. It's really impressive stuff. The Dolby Vision on this disc is also another massive help to this film. Scenes now look very, very different than they did on the previous Blu-ray. There's one very funny scene that involves a reservoir. Now, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a really great moment in the movie. And the sun is setting in that sequence, and the foreground of the scene is much dimmer than the setting sun in the background, and the colors now are very, very accurate of what the film is trying to portray. It doesn't look like the middle of the day anymore. It actually looks like a sunset, golden hour type time of day, and that's because that Dolby Vision can show dark as well as light all at the same time. And you can also see way better now in those darker sequences. That scene I just mentioned in particular, the shadow detail in that scene just alone is really impressive because you can see everything. Even though it's dimmer, you can see it perfectly while this beautiful orange glow lights up the top part of the shot. Really, really amazing stuff. Other darker scenes now look so much better. The black levels on this disc are basically perfect. Even though there aren't a ton of darker scenes, those scenes do look impressive now. And the detail level and the lack of any kind of black crush or anything like that really enhances those moments. And there are a few tense moments in this film. And now, because of those adjustments with the brightness and everything, that Dolby Vision doing its job, it really is amazing stuff. Colors also are way more enhanced in this version. skin tones are lifelike, and I mean absolutely lifelike, to the point where you're almost thinking like you're looking at somebody in real life. It doesn't even look like you're watching a movie. And that goes for really the whole movie. The Dolby Vision enhances everything. Browns are much deeper, oranges are much more vibrant. There's actually some scenes where there are bright lights in very dark environments, and those bright lights really, really are bright now in comparison to other scenes. There's one scene where a spotlight is in the foreground, and it's almost blinding, honestly. So very, very cool stuff there. I absolutely loved this new transfer. It was an absolute knockout. I was very, very impressed by this, and Kino Lorber did an amazing, amazing job with that. It may have been actually Universal that did it, but whoever did the transfer, hats off to them. Incredible stuff. Absolutely amazing. So now in terms of audio quality, this actually comes with 4 different audio tracks, 2 of which are audio for the film, and then there are 2 other audio commentaries. I'll get into the commentaries in a minute. But the 2 main audio tracks for the film are a 2.0 DTS HD Master Audio stereo track and a 5.1 DTS HD Master Audio track. Now, I listened to this film mainly in the 5.1 track because I started the film in stereo. And even though the stereo track is what this movie was released in, as far as I know, that's the original theatrical audio, but I just felt that it was a little too boxed in. Again, that could just be my preference. Yours may vary. But to just have the 2 speakers, the left and right, pretty much doing everything, it just didn't work for me. So after a little bit, I switched it to the 5.1, and it immediately became clear that that is pretty much the best way to watch this film. Everything is really well spaced. Voices and things are much clearer in that. The music definitely has a little more room to kind of spread out. Sound effects are much better placed, and even though there isn't a ton of surround effects used, it just felt a little more open. You're getting that dialogue and that music and the sound effects out of different speakers instead of just being all kind of compressed to left and right. It was a nice thing, and personally, I think the 5.1 is the way to go. And that 5.1 track, as far as I know, is pretty much the exact same one on the older Blu-ray, which was excellent. So again, not really a big deal there, but I would have liked to see a little step up, maybe to like a Dolby Atmos or a DTS-X, but the fact that the 5.1 is included on this, I think, is a pretty great thing. One thing to note, you do have to specially select the 5.1 from the menu. It automatically goes to the 2.0 stereo on this. So if you do want to listen to this film with the 5.1 audio, you do have to change it to that. So just one thing to keep in mind when you watch it. Now, the audio commentaries, as I mentioned, there are 2 different audio commentaries. There is one from director and co-writer Phil Alden Robinson, as well as co-writers and co-producers Lawrence Lasker and Walter F. Parks. That one's actually a really interesting commentary. They talk about the making of the film, the writing of the film, different aspects of, all different kinds of aspects of the making of the film. So that one's actually a fun listen. And then the secondary one also has Phil Alden Robinson, but that one has cinematographer John Lindy with him. And that one's really cool if you want to learn more about how they shot things, the composition of certain scenes. Really, really interesting. They're both very much worth a listen. And Phil Alden Robinson's kind of a funny guy, so I recommend those if you have the time to listen to them both. And then they also included the making of documentary, The Making of Sneakers, which was also included on that older Blu-ray. I think I want to say it's close to an hour long, but it's a great little making of documentary that delves into basically every aspect of the making of the film, the true life stories that inspired the characters in the film. It's really, really a great watch, and I love it. So if you are a fan of this film, that documentary is included on the secondary Blu-ray disc. So that's pretty cool. And there's also a bunch of theatrical trailers, one for Sneakers and then a couple others for other Robert Redford films that are on Kino Lorber. So pretty cool stuff. I'm going to open up the box here. You can see, again, very, very plain discs there. Nothing really special to report. But as I mentioned, all of these special features are on the accompanying Blu-ray, although the audio commentary tracks are on the 4K, so that was nice of them to do. All in all, what were my thoughts on Sneakers here on 4K? This is an absolute must-buy. Even if you haven't seen this movie, this is one of these movies that I recommend to people because it's kind of a prophetic film. There's a lot of things in this movie about technology that even though the technology is very dated in this film, it does make for a nice bit of 90s nostalgia. But there's a lot of things that happen that are talked about in this film that have kind of happened now in reality. And it's surprising, actually, how much stuff this movie got right back in 1992. So excellent film. I love this movie. It's a lot of fun. But again, this is the way to go. This 4K disc is hands down the best this movie has ever looked. And to be honest with you, this is one of the best transfers of the year so far. So big props to Kino Lorber for this release. They did an excellent job. And I cannot wait to see what they come out with next because this was a real, real good one. If you want to pick up Sneakers, I'll leave a link that goes to Amazon. Again, this does come out on Tuesday, April 22nd. And of course, I just want to say thank you all for coming back to Kavanaugh's Corner. That's really all I have for today. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and definitely subscribe to the channel. Until next time, I wish you all the very best. Please stay safe, keep collecting, and take it easy.